The Battle of Karbala is one of the most significant and tragic events in Islamic history, taking place on 10th Muharram 680 CE 61, or in the plains of Karbala, near present-day Iraq. This battle marked the martyrdom of Imam Hussain ibn Ali, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, and his companions, in a stand against the oppressive Umayyad Caliphate under Yazid ibn Muawiyah. The roots of the Battle of Karbala lie in the broader political and religious developments within the early Islamic community after the death of Prophet Muhammad in 632 CE. The rise of the Umayyad Caliphate. After the death of Prophet Muhammad, the leadership of the Muslim community became a point of contention. The Umayyad dynasty, starting with Muawiyah I, established a hereditary monarchy, which many felt deviated from the principles of Islamic governance that the Prophet had envisioned. This led to significant division, particularly between those loyal to the family of the Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt, and those supporting the Umayyad caliphs. Imam Ali, the cousin and son-in-law of Prophet Muhammad, was the first leader. Imam for Shia Muslims, he became the fourth caliph after the death of Uthman. His caliphate was marked by internal strife, including the Battle of the Camel and the Battle of Siffin. After Ali's assassination in 661 CE, his son, Imam Hussain, briefly became the caliph before abdicating to avoid further bloodshed and to preserve unity. Imam Hassan's abdication left the leadership of the Muslim world to the Umayyads under Muawiyah. However, after Muawiyah's death in 680 CE, his son, Yazid I, succeeded him. The rise of Yazid was controversial, especially to those who believed the leadership should remain within the family of the Prophet Muhammad. Imam Hussein's refusal to pledge allegiance to Yazid. The central issue that led to the Battle of Karbala was the rise of Yazid ibn Muawiyah as the caliph in 680 CE after his father Muawiyah's death. Yazid's claim to the caliphate was seen by many, particularly the followers of the Prophet's family, as illegitimate and corrupt. Imam Hussain, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad and the son of Imam Ali, refused to pledge allegiance to Yazid, believing that he was an unjust ruler who did not uphold Islamic values of justice and righteousness. Letters from Kufa. Imam Hussain received letters from the people of Kufa, a city in present-day Iraq, inviting him to come and lead them in a rebellion against Yazid's rule. These letters promised support for Hussain, urging him to come to Kufa, where they were dissatisfied with Yazid's governance. Imam Hussein's decision to reject Yazid's rule was rooted in his belief that standing up for justice was a moral and religious duty. He left his home in Medina with a small group of family members, including his children, nephews, and companions, to march towards Kufa, intending to gather supporters to challenge Yazid's legitimacy. However, as Imam Hussain and his group moved toward Kufa, they were intercepted by Yazid's army, and the situation quickly turned into a confrontation. On 2nd Muharram 680 CE, Imam Hussain and his group arrived at Karbala, a barren, desert area. Yazid's forces, numbering in the thousands, led by Ubayd Allah ibn Ziyad, were stationed nearby and ordered that Imam Hussain and his companions be stopped from entering Kufa. The siege of Hussein's camp. Yazid's forces cut off all access to water for Imam Hussain and his companions, creating extreme hardship for them. Hussein's camp, consisting of around 72 people including women and children, faced not only the threat of military attack but also a dire lack of basic resources. Attempts at negotiation. Imam Hussain sought to avoid bloodshed and attempted to negotiate with Yazid's forces. He sent emissaries, including his cousin, Muslim ibn Aqil, to negotiate, but these efforts were unsuccessful. The Umayyad forces insisted on Hussein's surrender and pledge of allegiance to Yazid, which he refused. The confrontation between the two sides reached its peak on 10th Muharram, Ashura. On that day, the battle took place on the plains of Karbala, where Imam Hussain and his followers made a final stand against Yazid's forces. The unfair disparity: Imam Hussein's forces were vastly outnumbered. Yazid's army is estimated to have numbered between 30,000 to 40,000, while Hussein's forces only included around 72 men, most of them family members and companions. Despite the overwhelming odds, Imam Hussain and his companions remained steadfast. The martyrdom of Hussein's companions. Early in the day, Hussein's companions, including his half-brother Abbas ibn Ali, his son Ali Asghar, and his nephew Ali Akbar, were martyred in the battle. Abbas, Hussein's standard-bearer, is particularly famous for his bravery and his attempt to fetch water for the children in the camp. Despite being surrounded by the enemy forces, he was killed near the river Euphrates after being unable to bring water back to the camp. The killing of Hussein. After witnessing the martyrdom of his companions, Imam Hussein mounted his horse and faced Yazid's army. He made an emotional plea, asking for a ceasefire to allow for a proper burial of the dead. However, his plea was rejected. Hussein continued to fight valiantly, but eventually he was surrounded and struck by a fatal blow. According to most accounts, Hussein's head was severed and presented to Yazid's forces as a trophy. Imam Hussein's martyrdom. Imam Hussein's martyrdom was followed by the brutal killing of his family and companions. His surviving relatives, including his sisters, Zainab and Kulthum, as well as his children, were taken prisoner by Yazid's forces and paraded to the court in Kufa and Damascus. The plundering of Hussein's camp. After the battle, Yazid's forces plundered the camp of Hussein, taking the remaining women and children as captives. Imam Hussein's body was left on the battlefield, desecrated and without proper burial, until it was later given a respectful burial by the people of Kufa. The prisoner's journey. The survivors, led by Zainab, the sister of Imam Hussein, were forced to march from Karbala to Kufa and then to the court of Yazid in Damascus, where they were held in captivity and humiliated. Eventually, they were released and returned to Medina. The Battle of Karbala holds immense religious and spiritual significance for Muslims, particularly for Shia Muslims. It is viewed as a struggle for justice, symbolizing resistance against tyranny and oppression. Imam Hussein's sacrifice is seen as a powerful example of moral courage and standing up for righteousness, no matter the personal cost. Ashura, the day of the battle, 10th Muharram. Ashura is commemorated annually by Shia Muslims who mourn the martyrdom of Imam Hussein and his companions. Rituals such as mournful processions, recitations of elegies, and the reenactment of the battle are performed in honor of the event. Karbala remains one of the most revered places for Shia Muslims. The shrine of Imam Hussein and the tomb of his brother Abbas attract millions of pilgrims each year, especially during Ashura. Pilgrims often visit the site to mourn, offer prayers, and seek blessings. The Battle of Karbala remains a profound symbol in the collective memory of Muslims, illustrating the triumph of moral values over brute force and the eternal struggle for justice in the face of oppression. The history of Karbala is a poignant and central chapter in Islamic history, especially for Shia Muslims. The martyrdom of Imam Hussain and his companions serves as a powerful reminder of the moral and spiritual imperative to stand up against oppression, making Karbala not only a historical event, but a timeless symbol of sacrifice, courage, and resistance.